I'ma blow up.
All right, what is going on, everybody? So we are here with my man Tyler over there. So Tyler is my bodywork magician, I call him. So he is, like myself, a certified athletic trainer. Works in professional hockey and pretty much specializes in manual therapy, dry needling, and all these really cool things that help me keep my body in tip-top shape. It's for those of you that are not in America, he is very close to a physio with all the manual hands-on stuff that he does. So today we're going to do a little session on my legs and back, just to kind of get the hips all together. Now that I'm done with my 14-day quarantine, I'm going to try getting back into a normal training regimen. So just kind of get a little tune-up, getting into that, and let's see what he finds.
So right now I'm just kind of checking out. I look at the bony landmarks on the hips and just kind of see if they're even or not. Even is kind of a relative term, like they move independently of each other, and like I'm noticing here he's a little bit stiff on this side, so I'm looking across the board. Yeah, I know that is the side he's usually stiff on. So I'm kind of looking at the level of these. I can see it's sitting just a little bit higher on this side, and I'll have him flip over on his back just so I can check alignment on both sides. That way I know whether I'm dealing with a rotation or a slip up or down on one side or the other.
So Tyler's worked with me for almost 2 years now. Try to get in with him as regularly as possible, and he actually did come down to World's Strongest Man with me this past year too. So it's nice to have somebody that gets strongman and kind of knows what I put my body through and has helped me along the way. And also, fun fact, I was Tyler's teacher when he was a senior in college.
You can't forget that.
And I was a grad student, so I take full credit for everything he knows. Just kidding, he's way smarter than me. Not too bad so far. Now's where it's going to get fun, so we're going to go to the dry needling right now. So Tyler's going to stick a couple of needles into my hip flexor and my TFL over on the side. And that honestly has been awesome for me. It kind of really unlocks my back when I get that SI pain on the left side. So this is not terribly comfortable, but it works, so we do it.
So what I kind of do with this is I'll feel around. I know it's going to be a bad spot. So he's very tight through a few muscles on this side. One TFL right here, small muscle that goes into your IT band. Glute med is right on the side here. It kind of comes in like a fan shape right there. And then we will get into the back and in the glutes a little bit too. But for right now, we're going to focus on those two muscles. Basically what I do here is I use this guy here. It's essentially an acupuncture needle. The difference here between acupuncture and dry needling is that acupuncture is stemming from traditional Chinese medicine. And with that train of thought, they use the meridian lines on the body. There's however many 100 points on the body. And what they do is they use the needles to stimulate an area and channel energy through that meridian line in order to get the body to help heal itself. The way I kind of look at dry needling is it's essentially the Western medicine version of acupuncture, where you find an adhesion. Basically, you find a spot that you want to encourage healing with, or decrease pressure, or kind of you're able to create like a neurological reset. So you find these areas that you are looking to treat, usually soft tissue right into the muscle belly, and then you just kind of attack the adhesion essentially with this guy here. So
feels great. That's
what we're gonna do, and you'll see it's minimally invasive. However, it can be tender at times.
Nice. This is the weirdest sensation. When he starts to manipulate the needle, it's not that it hurts. He'll definitely get a spot that'll get me every once in a while, but you can feel the needle moving underneath the skin, which I think is the strangest feeling in the world.
Yeah, it's
not terribly painful. It's just like uncomfortable and weird, and I know it shouldn't be happening, but it works. Okay, there's that spot. Oh.
So what I'm kind of doing is I'll take the needle and I'll find adhesions within the muscle. So at the end of the needle, I can feel. Obviously, I have my anatomy background where I know exactly what I'm getting into here, but then I can feel density differences within the muscle, and I'm able to kind of direct the needle into spots that need more, or that I'm trying to stimulate and get a reaction from. So that's kind of what I'm doing on this end here is finding those small areas. There we go. And I can even feel the muscle loosen up after a few manipulations. So what's coming up?
Oh, that was good timing with that sound effect.
And now when I get into this area, it's there's significantly less tone in those muscles. So it kind of just takes the, rather than me kind of doing the same thing that I was doing for another 10 to 15, however many minutes, now it kind of cuts that treatment on that area down just a little bit. It makes this a little bit more efficient.
So I think the biggest thing is, like when we look at what we do in strongman, I like to categorize things into two different categories. There's pain and then there's injury, right? So like I hurt all the time. That just comes with the territory of the sport. Injuries I look as something that takes you out of the game for a while. So like what I'm dealing with now isn't necessarily an injury because I can train around it and I can still do what I need to do. It's just annoying and it bothers me, but it doesn't stop me from performing. Injury wise, I've only had like one serious injury in my career, and that was Giants Live North America 2018. Atlas stone fell in my chest. I broke 3 ribs, tore a muscle in my back, and that put me out of commission for about 6 months. But with what I'm dealing with now, it's just like Tyler said before, for me, it's just with something about the way that I move and what I do with my body. My left SI joint always locks up. My left side of the hip always seems to be problematic, but it's something we're always able to work on. Typically, I would say about once a month, we're working on just this left hip. And then, when I see him any other time, we just try to address other things, whether it's just some upper body stuff. Sometimes, for me, like training for World's Strongest Man, my right arm always gets jacked up from doing heavy squats and dumbbell pressing and log pressing that, everything in my right arm just kind of gets junked up and I get some pretty bad tendonitis and issues there. But that's just overuse stuff that happens in strongman and stuff that I've been trying to get better at and mitigate and make it not as painful. So I think, that's where seeing this guy on a fairly regular basis has kept me healthy throughout my entire career, especially going into shows. And now with 2020 being kind of crazy so far, to say the least, we don't know what our competition schedule is going to look like for the rest of the year. So we're looking at potentially anywhere between 10 and 15 competitions in about a 4 to 5 month span. So making sure my body feels good is going to be super important to get me through all those. What do you want next, Doc?
Your stomach. So here I'm going to address his QL, quadratus lumborum. Small muscle, but important muscle, goes from the hip down to the last rib. You got them on both sides of the back right here. But it's deep to the paraspinal, the ones that go all the way up into the neck. So what I'm going to do is I kind of measure my way away from the spine a little bit. Then I kind of bracket a little bit.
Tyler, I think one thing you could talk about too is maybe like how does treating somebody like me in a professional strongman differ from like a pro hockey player?
Sure, yeah, that's a good one. What's nice is that I've been really blessed with the influences that I've had. So and the experiences that I've had. So I've worked with, I had a few rotations where I was working D1 football. I got to work with the gymnastics team at Springfield College where we both went. And by working, especially with the gymnasts, I was able to get pretty good at treating the low back. They have a tendency they just land like as stiff as they can, kind of, and they end up jacking up all the force through their low back because they just like land, stick it, and then just and like eat it through their low back, so they get all sorts of jacked up, and that's kind of something that I got a lot better at treating, and through working with them, I was able to kind of find a way of my own kind of treatment method where I'm able to, and I've been influenced by a lot of people who've kind of helped me develop it. But the way that I kind of treat the hips is a little bit unique. And that kind of applies to everyone, but especially like strongman, a lot goes through the low back. You're carrying so much load that it's very easy to get tendencies like Rob has, where he gets a little bit jacked up on this side. I think the thing that I noticed the most about working with strongmen is just the mass. The most of the guys you work with in any sport aren't 300 pounds. I'm blessed. Rob is small, compared to most strongmen. So
Tyler has worked on Martins. He's worked on the Stoltman brothers, though, so he's worked on some of the big boys as well.
Yeah, I definitely. I dabble in working on the big guys, and you treat it just a little bit differently. The thing I notice a lot with working on the bigger guys is that obviously the sheer force that you have to put into them at times is kind of a lot. But then I also notice that they just kind of have a lot of resting tone sitting at like the kind of the top of them, whereas the problem is usually a lot deeper. So sometimes it takes so long working in on them because you have to address all the tone that's sitting on top of the muscles rather than going straight in and trying to attack the real problem, because you can't get to it most of the time. So you kind of have to, you got to be patient. You got to use kind of a lot of force, but it just takes a little bit more time to address some of the issues I think I've found, just because of the sheer mass and the resting tone that's kind of always sitting there.
Oh.
Yeah, this thing's fucking tight.
It's because you jinxed it, because last time I was on your table, you said it was the best I've ever felt.
I know.
That's what it is.
What happened to you? It's not my fault.
Decided to get really effed up last time, just for old time's sake.
You quit sitting on your ass during this quarantine.
That's the problem, is like, and we're not seeing patients. Everything's on like telephone or video call.
Yeah.
It's like I don't really get up. Oh. So we're wrapping up this bodywork session right now. Tyler's just finishing up on the hamstrings a little bit. Got a little look at what I go through on a fairly regular basis to keep my body feeling good. Well, as good as it can be with the stuff that we do. Excited to get back to a somewhat normal training schedule this week. So as always, subscribe to the channel, comment below on what you like, what you want to see. We really appreciate everybody that's coming to the channel. It's growing slowly. Obviously, we want it to grow a little bit quicker. Check the links below for all of my sponsors. And until next time, peace out.